Kang Ji-hoon is one of South Korea's most respected and feared CEOs, a man with a firm presence and sharp gaze who controls every aspect of his life and business with precision. In the business world, he is a legend. Every move he makes in the market, every decision he takes, is observed and replicated by those who hope for even a fraction of his success. He lives by the principle that, to stay on top, one must protect themselves from opportunistic people and even their own emotions. So he keeps everyone at a distance, never allowing anyone to break through the walls he has built around himself. However, on a business trip to Busan during a break between exhausting meetings, Ji-hoon decides to rest at a local cafe. It's there that he sees her for the first time, a young woman with a simple appearance, sitting alone with a soft smile and a focused gaze as she sketches in her notebook with dedication and almost childlike ease. She seems oblivious to the world, immersed in a universe of her own. Ji-hoon, who rarely takes an interest in strangers, finds himself unexpectedly intrigued and watches her from afar, captivated by the gentleness of her movements and the tranquility that surrounds her. Something rare in his world of ambition and numbers. But an unexpected mishap occurs. As she adjusts her position to better see her drawing, Ha-eun's hand hits the table, spilling her coffee, which nearly reaches Ji-hoon's impeccable suit as he sits nearby. Panicking, she grabs napkins and starts trying to clean up the mess. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," says Ha-eun, visibly embarrassed, unaware that the man in front of her is one of the country's most influential magnates. Ji-hoon watches her flustered attempt to clean everything up, and in a rare moment of patience, he lets out a slight smile. "It's all right," he responds, in a gentler tone than usual. His reaction surprises her, and Ha-eun sighs, relieved that she hasn't caused a bigger scene. After a few exchanged words, Ji-hoon learns that her name is Yoon Ha-eun and that she works as a freelance illustrator. They talk briefly about her drawings, and Ha-eun's simplicity, along with her genuine gaze, stirs a strange feeling in Ji-hoon. She is different from anyone he's ever met. Rather than focusing on titles or on who he is, she seems to have no idea of his status, and this fascinates him. Days pass, and Ji-hoon, who should be focused on his meetings in Busan, finds excuses to return to the same cafe. He begins to meet Ha-eun almost daily and realizes with each conversation that her presence brings a calmness amid the chaos of his life. Ha-eun treats him with ease and simplicity, and he grows to appreciate her sincerity and innocence, qualities he doesn't find in his own world. Over time, Ji-hoon starts to feel something he thought was long buried, the sensation that happiness could be real. Their meetings become frequent, and they start to share moments outside the cafe, exploring small parts of the city and even spending afternoons drawing together, something entirely new for Ji-hoon, who has always been buried in spreadsheets and graphs. He fights against his feelings, but his admiration for Ha-eun grows each day until he finally realizes he can no longer imagine his life without her. For Ha-eun, the impact is just as strong. She feels welcomed and protected by Ji-hoon, impressed by his kindness and care, unaware of the true power and wealth he possesses. One day, while they're walking along the beach on a starry night, Ji-hoon decides he can't delay his feelings any longer and surprises her by holding a small box. With a serious yet vulnerable look, he approaches Ha-eun. "Ha-eun, you've brought something new into my life. I thought I was happy alone, but you showed me there's so much more to live for. Will you marry me?" Ha-eun, moved and with tears in her eyes, accepts his proposal, hardly able to believe that this man, whom she thought was merely a serious and dedicated worker, could be confessing his love to her. To her, Ji-hoon represents genuine, safe love, a harbor in which she feels she can trust, so she decides to embrace this new life with him, without thinking about the possible differences between them. They marry in a simple, discreet ceremony, inviting only Ha-eun's close friends and Ji-hoon's most trusted assistants. For both, the simplicity of the moment represents the start of a new life. Ha-eun, a humble woman who has always dreamed of a peaceful and loving life, feels she has finally found her place. And Ji-hoon, who has always been surrounded by ambition and competition, discovers a peace he never knew before. They decide to keep their marriage a secret from the public and from rival businessmen, convinced that their love will be enough to create a new life together, free from outside pressures. Tranquility seems to reign between the two, and they begin to live a harmonious and calm routine. However, Ji-hoon can't help but notice certain details that disturb him. Ha-eun never mentions her family, and whenever he asks about her past, she responds vaguely, without going into detail. One evening, while tidying up the living room, Ji-hoon finds an old-looking necklace she left on the dining table. The necklace has a peculiar design, a symbol that seems vaguely familiar to Ji-hoon, and his instincts tell him there may be more to Ha-eun than he knows. When he questions her about it, Ha-eun looks away and answers evasively, saying it's just a childhood keepsake, something she'd rather not discuss. Her silence and the lack of information about her past start to awaken the suspicious side of Ji-hoon. He tries to ignore the feeling, telling himself it's an overreaction, but the unease lingers. The lack of transparency regarding her family and the mystery surrounding Ha-eun's background stirs his controlling side, unaccustomed to being kept in the dark about anything. Even with the love he feels, doubt begins to seep into his heart, threatening the peace they have built together and planting the first seed of mistrust in their seemingly perfect marriage. Over the following months, Ji-hoon and Ha-eun settle into married life, but a series of small doubts begin to cloud the CEO's mind. Ha-eun continues working as a freelance illustrator, and her lighthearted approach to life inspires Ji-hoon to be more optimistic and less rigid. However, every time she avoids his questions about her past or family, a shadow of unease settles in his heart. Without meaning to, he finds himself wondering about the gaps in her story and what Ha-eun might be hiding. One cold evening, after a quiet dinner, Ji-hoon decides to test the waters, starting the conversation lightly. Ha-eun, have you ever thought about going back to live near your family? He asks, watching her closely. Ha-eun seems caught off guard, and a shadow briefly crosses her face. My family, well, we're a bit distant, you know, she replies, looking away. It's nothing important, just some things I'd rather leave in the past. I see, he says, but his expression shows he's not entirely satisfied. But one day, who knows, they might want to meet their son-in-law, right? Maybe, but I'm not sure it's such a good idea right now, Ji-hoon. She pauses, clearly uncomfortable. I'm happy like this. I have you, and that's enough. Ji-hoon embraces her, but he feels unsettled by her response. By now, he knows his wife well enough to sense that she only acts this way when she's hiding something. Determined to respect Ha-eun's boundaries, he tries to push his suspicions aside, but his mind keeps returning to that night he found the old necklace with the strange symbol on it. In the days that follow, Ji-hoon begins noticing small things he had previously overlooked. Ha-eun, for instance, receives strange calls from time to time, and they seem to leave her tense. During one of these calls, Ji-hoon watches as she takes the call in the hallway, her expression anxious. Who was that? He asks when she returns. Oh, just a coworker, nothing important, she replies, offering a quick smile. But her answer feels evasive, and Ji-hoon feels his controlling instincts kicking in. Something drives him to investigate Ha-eun's past, and once the thought takes root, he can't shake it. One day while she's out, Ji-hoon calls his trusted assistant, Park Do-jin, and asks him to look into Ha-eun's background. Do-jin hesitates but doesn't question his boss's request. A few days later, Do-jin returns with a small envelope of information. I found some details that may interest you, sir, Do-jin says, handing him the envelope. But it's a bit of a complicated story. Ji-hoon opens the envelope, and the first few details shock him. Ha-eun was adopted at 8 years old by a humble family in the countryside, but before that, records show her birth name was Kim Ji-ah, and that she is the biological daughter of none other than Kim Sung-ho, president of Youngwon Corporation, his main business rival. Kim Sung-ho is a powerful magnate in the financial sector, known for his wealth and ancient family legacy. Learning that his wife is the daughter of his greatest enemy fills him with a mix of shock and anger. He recalls all the times Ha-eun avoided the subject and wonders how much she might have lied or hidden from him. That night, Ji-hoon can't act normally and just observes his wife in silence, trying to comprehend how she could have kept something so important from him. But a question eats away at him. Does Ha-eun even know who she really is? While he reflects on how to confront her, Ha-eun seems to sense that something has changed. Ji-hoon, is everything all right? You seem distant tonight, she says, worried as she approaches him and touches his hand. He pulls his hand away gently, showing little affection. It's fine, just a hard day at work, that's all. He responds curtly. Her expression turns to a mix of concern and sadness. I'm sorry for that. If there's anything I can do. There is, actually, he interrupts, looking at her with a direct, serious gaze. You can tell me a bit more about your past. Who is Yoon Ha-eun? Or should I call you Kim Ji-ah? Ha-eun freezes, as if she's been struck. Her eyes widen and she takes a step back, trying to process what she just heard. She realizes that Ji-hoon already knows the truth, the very thing she had tried to bury for so long. Her silence only heightens the tension between them. How did you find out? Ha-eun whispers, her eyes filling with tears. I'm Kang Ji-hoon. It doesn't take me long to find things out. You know that, he says, his voice edged with the pain of betrayal. Why did you hide this from me? You're the daughter of the man who's tried to ruin my company so many times. Did you really think you could keep that a secret? It's not like that, Ji-hoon. I never lied about loving you. I just wanted to escape that part of my life. I grew up in a world full of ambition, and that's why I ran away from it all. I wanted a simple life, far from all those corporate battles. And you thought marrying your rival without mentioning you're Kim Sung-ho's daughter was a good idea? Ji-hoon stares at her in disbelief. You thought I would never find out? Ha-eun tries to step closer, her eyes pleading with him to believe her. I never meant to hurt you, Ji-hoon. I loved you for who you are. I didn't want my past to interfere. I never accepted anything from my father and never wanted any part of that life. What we have is real. Ji-hoon, still wounded by the feeling of being deceived, remains silent. In his mind, the genuine love they built seems tangled with a game of manipulation and lies. He feels he's lost control of everything. I need time to think, he says, turning and grabbing his coat. Maybe I need to be alone for a few days. Ji-hoon, please, Ha-eun begs, her trembling hands gripping his arm. He gently pulls away, avoiding her gaze. I'm sorry, Ha-eun, but right now I can't trust you. He leaves, leaving Ha-eun alone, her heart shattered, tears streaming down her face. Ji-hoon spends the following days alone, engulfed in a mix of resentment and confusion. Everything he had built with Ha-eun now feels like one big lie. He recalls the carefree afternoons they spent together, the laughter and the peace she brought into his life, but he can't shake the feeling that she hid a vital part of herself. The image of Ha-eun as his sweet, sincere wife seems like a cruel disguise, and his pride aches each time he considers forgiving her. Back at his office, Ji-hoon throws himself into work to distract himself. He knows Jongtaek is in a delicate market position, and Youngwon Corporation, his biggest rival led by Kim Sung-ho, might take advantage of any weakness. Ji-hoon, with his nerves on edge, knows he can't afford to seem vulnerable. The fact that Ha-eun is Youngwon's heir only deepens his suspicions, making him question even the most intimate moments they shared, as if everything might have been a setup. After a few days of silence, Ha-eun decides to go to Ji-hoon's office to try to make amends. She doesn't want to give up on their marriage, but she knows it will be challenging to win back his trust. When she arrives, she sees Ji-hoon alone in his office, frowning as he reviews a report. She knocks softly on the door and he looks up, surprised, though he shows no sign of a smile. Can we talk? She asks, her expression concerned. I don't think there's much left to say, he replies, coldly, avoiding eye contact. Ha-eun takes a few steps closer, determined. Please, Ji-hoon, I know I made a mistake by not telling you about my past, but that doesn't mean our love was a lie. I never meant to hide anything from you to manipulate you. I just wanted a different life, far from the business world and my family's pressures. Ji-hoon lets out a bitter laugh. And you thought it was a good idea to keep that a secret? Don't you realize that, for me, trust is non-negotiable? We're married, Ha-eun. And you made a fool out of me by hiding something this important. You're the daughter of Kim Sung-ho, the man who's tried to destroy Jongtaek time and again. How did you expect me to react? Ha-eun hesitates but tries to explain. I knew you'd react this way, Ji-hoon. That's why I was afraid to tell you. I thought I could leave that part of my life behind. I wanted a simple life, away from all of that. I loved you for who you are, not for what you have, and I never wanted to bring that burden into our lives. He shakes his head in frustration. That doesn't change anything. How am I supposed to trust you after this? She takes his hands, her eyes filled with tears. Because what I feel for you is real. I never wanted anything but a peaceful life with you. I left Youngwon years ago and never wanted anything to do with my father's power. You taught me the true meaning of love and security. Please, Ji-hoon, listen to me. I did it for us, but I made a mistake. Give me a chance to fix it. He lets go of her hands and looks at her with a cold expression. I need time, Ha-eun. You need to understand that, to me, trust is everything. I can't give you an answer right now. You brought chaos into my life, and I need to put things in order. Maybe then we can see if there's still something worth saving. Ha-eun, devastated, realizes she has no choice but to wait. She leaves Ji-hoon's office with a broken heart, praying he will find it in himself to forgive her. In the days that follow, the separation between them grows more pronounced. Ji-hoon tries to focus on Jong-taek, but Ha-eun's absence begins to weigh heavily on him. He recalls the small moments they shared, their peaceful outings, her laughter, the way she comforted him after a tough day. Doubt gnaws at him. Was the woman he fell in love with truly sincere? One night, while reviewing old documents, Ji-hoon notices something odd about Youngwon's recent market moves. He discovers that the company has been secretly trying to acquire Jong-taek shares, taking advantage of the fragile moment in his personal life to apply pressure. A wave of anger surges through him, feeling as if this acquisition attempt confirms that his marriage might have been a setup all along. With his nerves fraying, Ji-hoon decides to confront Ha-eun's father, Kim Sung-ho. The next day, he goes to the Youngwon Corporation office and, without an appointment, demands a meeting with Sung-ho. The businessman receives him in his luxurious office with a confident smile and a hint of provocation. Kang Ji-hoon, finally honoring me with a visit. To what do I owe the surprise? Sung-ho greets him, looking at him with a challenging gaze. Ji-hoon stares back firmly. Let's get to the point, Kim Sung-ho. I want to know your daughter's real intentions in marrying me. Was it a strategy to access Jong-taek? Because if it was, your play was in very poor taste. Sung-ho lets out a low, sarcastic laugh. Oh, so now you know. Well, I must admit I enjoyed watching you marry my daughter without having the faintest idea who she was. But know this, I never asked her to do any of it. In fact, Ji-hoon, my daughter has always been a disappointment to me. She rejected her place in Youngwon, abandoned the family, and decided to take the weaker path. Sung-ho looks at him with disdain. I only learned about your marriage later, and honestly, I don't see how it could have benefited me. Ji-hoon feels disgusted by Sung-ho's coldness, but also slightly relieved, as if part of his suspicions have been dispelled. He realizes that Ha-eun's love for him may have truly been genuine, though the bitterness remains. I love her, Ji-hoon, but her family, she has always been a problem. Ha-eun was too weak to carry the Kim name, so she abandoned everything. You may be married to my daughter, but she was never part of my plans. With these words, Ji-hoon leaves Sung-ho's office shaken but with a lighter heart. Sung-ho's revelation seems to confirm that Ha-eun never acted with ulterior motives. He realizes that she tried to protect their love from everything he himself is now imposing between them. She kept the secret, yes, but out of fear, believing she could escape a life of ambition and manipulation. When he returns home, Ji-hoon sees the empty apartment and feels, for the first time, the full extent of the loneliness his distrust has caused. He realizes that by pushing Ha-eun away, he allowed his pride and need for control to destroy the one thing that had truly brought him happiness. He picks up his phone and with a hesitant voice leaves a message for her. Ha-eun, it's me. I think I made a mistake. If you can forgive me, I want to try again. Please call me. I want to make things right. I miss you. As he hangs up, he feels a nervousness he's never felt before. After days of silence, Ha-eun finally returns Ji-hoon's call. The phone rings, and when he answers, her voice is calm but with a clear sadness. Hi, Ji-hoon, she says hesitantly. Ha-eun, Ji-hoon feels his words falter for a moment. He has never felt so vulnerable, but he knows he needs to be sincere. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have treated you that way. I understand that you felt betrayed, she replies, her voice trembling. I just wanted some peace. I thought I could have that by your side without my past getting in the way. Ha-eun, please, can we meet? He asks, determined. I need to see you. I need you to let me explain. After a long sigh, Ha-eun finally agrees. They arrange to meet at the small cafe where it all began, and Ji-hoon feels both nervous and relieved. He prepares himself mentally, knowing that this conversation will be crucial in deciding their future. When Ha-eun arrives, Ji-hoon almost doesn't recognize her at first. She looks paler, with a tired expression. He greets her, and they sit in silence, as if they're meeting for the first time. Ji-hoon gathers the courage to start. Ha-eun, I know I messed up. I let my pride take over, and the way I treated you is unacceptable. But what I feel for you is real. I never doubted what we had together. It's just, the weight of your secret and your connection to Kim Sung-ho threw me completely off balance. I didn't know how to handle any of it. Ha-eun watches him, her eyes sad but no longer filled with tears. I understand, Ji-hoon. Maybe I was naive to think I could leave my past behind completely. I thought we could be happy without you knowing. I just wanted peace. She lowers her gaze. I never meant to hurt you. Ji-hoon feels the regret in every word she says, and seeing her pain stirs something deep within him. He feels an urge to reach out to her. Ha-eun, you don't have to run from your past anymore. I want us to move forward, but without secrets, without lies. I want you to be who you really are, and I want to be a part of that life with everything that comes with it. She looks at him for a moment, contemplating. And what about you, Ji-hoon? Can you really let go of your pride, your need for control? Because deep down, that's what made you react the way you did, isn't it? I didn't hide my past out of malice, but out of fear. And you couldn't forgive me. He lowers his head, considering her question. Throughout his life, Ji-hoon has fought to control everything and everyone. And now, standing before her, he feels as if he's on the edge of a cliff, with the chance to leave that part of himself behind. He takes a deep breath and finally looks into her eyes. Yes, Ha-eun, I can. At least, I want to try. I don't want to lose you over something I created myself, and I promise I'll work on it. Please give me a chance. After a long moment of reflection, Ha-eun sighs and gives him a soft, weary smile. I'll think about it, Ji-hoon. I think we both need to reflect on what we want from here on out. We gave each other a lot of love, but also a lot of pain. After that meeting, Ha-eun decides to go away to think, leaving Ji-hoon with hope, but also with the uncertainty of whether she will forgive him. Without her, the emptiness becomes unbearable, and he realizes he must act concretely to show that he truly intends to change. Ji-hoon begins attending therapy regularly, recognizing that he needs to deal with his pride and his tendency to distrust others. For the first time, he understands that his need to control every aspect of his life has pushed away the people he loves most. Meanwhile, Ha-eun returns to the countryside, where her adoptive family lives. She spends time with them, seeking comfort and trying to figure out what she wants for her life. Being surrounded by people who have known her since childhood and who love her unconditionally helps her find the strength to move forward no matter what decision she makes. She realizes that she loves Ji-hoon, but also knows that forgiveness is not something that can be rushed, especially after everything they've been through. A few weeks later, Ha-eun is invited to participate in an illustration exhibit in Seoul, an important event for her career and a chance to showcase her work more widely. Reluctantly, she accepts, knowing that this event may also bring her closer to Ji-hoon. However, she promises herself not to seek him out, choosing instead to focus on her exhibition and embrace the opportunity to be recognized for her own merit. On the day of the exhibit, Ji-hoon decides to show up, not knowing how he will be received. He walks among the artworks, observing each piece until he finds Ha-eun's illustrations. He is impressed by her talent, and seeing how visitors praise her work, he feels even prouder. At that moment, she appears, and they lock eyes. Ji-hoon feels his heart race as he sees her, and she, surprised by his presence, tries to remain composed. You came, she says, with a mix of surprise and caution. I couldn't miss the chance to see the talent of the woman I love, he replies, with a sincere smile, a touch of vulnerability in his expression. She smiles faintly, but there is still a distance between them, something they both need to address. I think we need to talk, don't we? Ha-eun asks, looking at him seriously. Ji-hoon agrees, and they leave the exhibit to walk together. During the conversation, he shares his progress in therapy, his efforts to deal with his excessive control and pride, and how he's willing to do whatever it takes to change. Ha-eun listens carefully and feels that, for the first time, Ji-hoon is genuinely trying to open up and be vulnerable. I know I can't erase what happened, Ha-eun, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to build a new life with you, he says, holding her hand gently. If you can still forgive me, I want a second chance. Ha-eun sighs, her heart still divided. However, as she looks at him, she sees the genuine effort in his eyes, the memory of everything they've been through, the happy and painful moments alike, makes her realize that, despite it all, their love is real. I'm willing to try again, Ji-hoon, but you have to understand that this will be a new stage for both of us, with no distrust, no secrets. I want a marriage built on truth, without the burden of the past. Ji-hoon nods, touched by her sincerity, and they embrace. He feels that he has finally found peace in the midst of his turmoil, and that now he has a second chance with the woman he loves, free of the barriers he himself had built. This reunion is not the end, but a new beginning for them both. In the weeks following their reunion at Ha-eun's exhibit, Ji-hoon and Ha-eun embark on a new phase of their relationship, one based on honesty and mutual support. Ji-hoon continues his therapy sessions regularly, realizing that sharing his insecurities and listening to advice is helping him become a better person. Over time, Ji-hoon learns to see love not as something to control, but as a bond to be nurtured with patience and trust. Ha-eun, for her part, focuses on building her career. The Seoul exhibit has brought her work more visibility, and she is invited to illustrate a children's book, something she has always dreamed of. She feels fulfilled and independent, finally at peace with the fact that loving Ji-hoon doesn't mean giving up on herself. She loves him, but now she understands the importance of maintaining her ambitions and identity. She shares each new career milestone with Ji-hoon, who supports her with genuine pride. One quiet evening, they're having dinner together, discussing Ha-eun's new illustrations, when she mentions something that surprises Ji-hoon. They've asked me to do an interview for a magazine. They want me to talk a little about my personal life, but I'm not sure if I should accept. Ji-hoon looks at her seriously. Ha-eun, is this something important to you? I think you deserve recognition. You have enormous talent, and the world should know you for who you truly are. She smiles, touched by his sincerity. Ji-hoon's unconditional support makes her feel confident. You know, I'm starting to think that maybe it's time for me to really face my past, to stop running from who I am and accept my origins, even if I don't want my family's legacy. Maybe I can show that I can be myself, even as Kim Sung-ho's daughter. Ji-hoon takes her hand, looking at her with a gaze full of love. Whatever decision you make, I'll be by your side. All I need is to see you happy. Their relationship continues to grow, and they decide to prepare for the hardest conversation of all, facing Kim Sung-ho, Ha-eun's father. Both know that, to build a future without regrets, it's necessary to confront the traumas of the past. And Ha-eun wants, for the first time, to make her father understand that she has built her own life and that her marriage is founded on genuine love, not a strategic move. Over the weekend, they decide to visit her father at his mansion, confronting the cold, formal atmosphere that always seems to linger in that place. Sung-ho receives them with his usual calculating look, but upon seeing his daughter's determination and Ji-hoon's unwavering support, he realizes that something has changed between them. I see you've come together, he says with a sarcastic tone, leading them to the living room. Ji-hoon steps forward, determined to show he stands firmly by Ha-eun's side. We're here because we want you to understand that Ha-eun has chosen an independent life, one that's separate from her family's business. She has every right to make her own choices, and I'm standing by her, supporting her in every way. Ha-eun turns to her father, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Father, I know I'm not the daughter you wanted, but I am who I am, and that's never going to change. I chose my own life, made my own choices, and I'm done running. I'm an illustrator, and that's what makes me happy. You need to understand that my marriage to Ji-hoon was not a game or a strategy. I love Ji-hoon for who he is, and nothing will change that. Kim Sung-ho watches his daughter in silence, as if trying to understand the choice she's made. After a long moment, he finally lets out a weary sigh. Ha-eun, you've always been a disappointment to me, but now I see, maybe I was wrong to try and mold you into my own image. If this is your choice, then be happy. But know that, if you ever need anything, my door is open. Ha-eun feels the weight of years of expectations and pressure begin to lift. For the first time, she sees that she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone and that she is free to live as she pleases. She looks at Ji-hoon with gratitude, knowing that his presence made all of this possible. As they leave the mansion, Ji-hoon takes Ha-eun's hand, both of them silent as they absorb the impact of the conversation. When they're far from the estate, he stops, holds her shoulders, and looks deeply into her eyes. "This is the beginning of a new life for both of us, Ha-eun. I've never been prouder of anyone than I am of you." She smiles, her eyes shining, and leans in to kiss him. The kiss is gentle but filled with promises for the future. As they pull away, they both feel that they finally have a clear path forward. Months later, Ji-hoon and Ha-eun hold a symbolic ceremony, a vow renewal, to celebrate this new chapter in their lives. They invite only close friends and family, and this time, without hiding anything, they share with everyone the sincere and renewed bond they have built. The ceremony is full of smiles and laughter, a reflection of all the love, forgiveness, and resilience they've cultivated along the way. During his vows, Ji-hoon gazes at Ha-eun with admiration and respect, his words full of emotion. "Ha-eun, you taught me that true love can't be controlled or planned. It must be lived, respected, and cherished. Today, I promise you that I'll be the man who stands by you in every decision, supporting you and loving you for who you are." Ha-eun, overcome with emotion, responds in a soft yet confident voice. "Ji-hoon, I choose to love you with all my heart, as I always have. You've shown me that, even when things seem difficult, love can be a transformative force. Thank you for accepting me, supporting me, and never giving up on us." After the kiss that seals their promises, they both realize that this new phase is the start of a fulfilling life, built on true love, patience, and acceptance. With their eyes shining and hearts entwined, they walk forward together into the future, free of secrets or fears. Ji-hoon and Ha-eun's story is a testament that, despite differences and challenges, true love can triumph, making each new day a journey to be shared with strength, trust, and happiness.